Trails of Nomads scientific expedition visited the Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic of Azerbaijan. How did our ancestors batyrs from the Kipchak and Zhalair tribes defend the Alinja castle? Who built the mausoleum of Momine Khatun, who is called the mother of Yıldızguzid dynasty? What is the secret of long-term storage of food and medicine in troubled times? According to history, our ancestors influenced the formation of the Azerbaijani people. In the 12th century, the Yıldızguzid dynasty ruled this region. Its founder was Shams al-Din Ildiniz, a native of the Kipchak tribe. According to the legends, this is the Seljuk Sultan who was the most faithful ally of Togrul II. The ruler was impressed by the honesty, courage, and dexterity of his assistant. As a sign of gratitude, he granted Yıldızguz the title of Emir and made him Atabeg, that is, the mentor of his son Arslan Shah. Later in 1136, he was appointed ruler of Iran and then moved to the city of Bard. Just at that time, the independent state of Atabegs was formed, and he began to simultaneously rule southern Azerbaijan and Nakhichevan.
Қазір біз Nakhichevan Автономиялық Республикасының орталық қаласы.
We are now in the center of the Nakhichevan Autonomous Republic. This is the city of Nakhichevan. In the 12th, 13th century, it was the first capital of the state ruled by Yıldızguz, a sultan who arrived from the Kipchak steppe. Ancient mausoleums, fortresses, and other architectural monuments preserved in the city were built in that era.
Басқа да көп археологиялық, архитектуралық ескерткіштерді көреміз.
The participants of the Trails of Nomads scientific expedition studying history decided to explore the ancient monuments and artifacts in this country. Albanians moved to this region from the territory of the present Kazakh steppes. Most of them settled here. They closely interacted with the local peoples and began to live the same way. Representatives of the Matai family moved along with the Albanians. During the reign of the Yıldızguzids, the cities of Nakhichevan, Tabriz, Shamaki, Derbent, Baku developed and flourished. The famous geographer historian Yakut al-Hamawi noted in his studies that Tabriz was the most popular city in Azerbaijan. In this city, almost all medieval types of crafts developed rapidly. The cities of Nakhichevan and Beylagan flourished and changed every day. Derbent and Baku have become international port cities linking the countries. All the inhabitants of the region contributed to the formation and development of industry. Even women participated in the production of various types of weapons. Our ancestors, Albanians and Matais, were the first to arrive in this territory back in the BC. They were followed by the Kipchaks. Azerbaijanis called them Yıldızguz, Ilinizars. Then the Zhalairs came. All this took about 1 century. There are many traces of our ancestors here. Our ancestors received a status of the great Atabegs of Azerbaijan. During their reign, domestic and foreign trade developed. In the 11th, 13th centuries, a unified monetary system and units of measurement were introduced. It was of unprecedented importance for the development of the state's economy. At that time, the production of money from copper and gold was mastered, coinage was rapidly developing. During that period, special refrigerated ice warehouses began to be built for the first time to provide the population with food all year round. That is, the storage facilities made it possible to preserve agricultural products in any heat. We are now at the ice storage warehouse. It was built in the 14th century. We know from history that just at that time, that is, in the 14th century, our ancestors, the Zhalairs, settled here. The Nakhichevan ice storage is one of the largest refrigeration warehouses in Azerbaijan. This special facility is located next to the Jibek Mausoleum. The building is 20 meters long and 9 meters high. The lower part was dug out 8-9 meters down. At that time, such a depth had low temperatures. Ice was prepared in winter. In summer, it was covered and low temperature was ensured for its storage. The construction of the ice storage facility was special. Medieval architects abandoned the pointed roof and made a very simple and constructive design. To expand the space, the builders used lancet arches. They were installed every 3 meters. In this case, the bricks were placed perpendicular to the supporting arcs. These storages, cooled with ice, at one time could fully supply the inhabitants of the city with food and medicine. This ice was used for various purposes on the farm. Firstly, for storage and cooling of the premises where medicines were stored. There were many types of medicines back then. Special conditions were required for their storage. The most important thing was a dark and cool warehouse. In addition, ice was used to cool vegetable stores, warehouses for storing fruits and berries. They were then processed to make juices and other products. When the state of the Yildiz was formed, in addition to various crafts and trade, culture was rapidly developing in Azerbaijan. It has reached great heights. The state of the Yildiz occupied a vast territory from Derbent to the Persian Gulf. Its troops included emirs in charge of the distribution of land and almost 50,000 regular cavalry troops. We are on the land of Nakhichevan, located near Azerbaijan and Armenia. Our ancestors owned and ruled these lands. During that period, science and literature, architecture and fine arts were developing in Azerbaijan. In large cities of the country, construction was underway. City walls, watchtowers, majestic palaces, mosques, mausoleums, baths, and other structures were erected.
Менің артымда тұрған Momine Khatun'un кесенесі.
Behind me is the Momine Khatun Mausoleum. According to the first version, Momine Khatun is the wife of Yildiz, who headed the dynasty. He was the first Kipchak warrior who arrived here from Dashti Kipchak. He was sold here as a slave. However, he managed to free himself and rise to the title of Sultan. So this mausoleum perhaps is the burial place of Yildiz's wife.
Сол кісінің Yildiz'in әйелінің кесенесі болуы мүмкін.
Momine Khatun Mausoleum is one of the majestic examples of medieval architectural art that have survived to this day. The historical monument is located in the upper part of the city. Each ornament on the walls of the building tells about the traditions of the ancient era. Complex techniques were used to make geometric plexuses. In 3 parts there are inscriptions made in the form of patterns that connect each part of the tower with a ribbon. The blue color used in the construction blends with the sky and gives the building a special touch. The mausoleum, which is well preserved and has survived to this day, was commissioned by Muhammad Jahan Pahlavan.
Екінші жорамал бойынша бұл сол Jahan Pahlavanның әйелінің кесенесі болуы мүмкін.
According to the second version, this may be the mausoleum of the wife of Jahan Pahlavan.
Мынау күйеуі Jahan Pahlavan.
Her name was Zakida Khatun. Her husband pampered her and called her mother's name. Zakida Khatun was very famous during the reign of Nakhichevan.
Атақты бұл осы мынау Nakhichevan территориясын, облысын басқарған кезінде.
Momine Khatun was called the mother of the Atabeg dynasty. She actively participated in solving problematic political issues. According to the chronicler Sadruddin al-Hussein, Yıldız took her with him when traveling around the country. He listened to the opinion of his wife in important public matters.
Zakida Khatun ол өте сондай бір дәрежелі атақты.
Zakida Khatun was a very famous woman. She ruled Nakhichevan. The mausoleum is 27 meters high and 15 meters in diameter.
27 метр, диаметрі 15 метр деп есептеледі.
The height of the tower initially reached 34-35 meters. Later, the roof collapsed and only 25 meters remained, local historians say. Today, near the mausoleum, which has now become a museum, there is a park. On its territory, there are about 250 gravestones, which are also called balbals.
Мұның жанында міне көріп тұрсыздар, үлкен ашық.
As you can see, there is a large open-air park nearby. There are a lot of stone sculptures left by our ancestors. They appeared here from the 11th to the 16th centuries. They are directly related to our ancestors.
Бұлардың бәрі де біздің бабаларымызға қатысы бар.
The feet of the heroes who at one time made a great contribution to the formation and development of the state was passed on as a legacy from generation to generation. Our ancestors helped to save the Alinja castle, which in troubled times for centuries withstood enemies and was a shield in the defense of the country. This is the merit of our ancestors.
Менің артындағы тұрған Alinja қамал деп аталады. Бұл қамал тарихшылардың айту бойынша 6-7 ғасырда салынған.
Behind me is the Alinja castle. According to historians, it was built in the 6th century. It was a troubled time then. Therefore, people needed such a structure to defend against enemies. So such a fortification was built. As Arab historians say, the Kipchaks conquered this fortress in the 8th century. In the 6th century, the Kipchaks, Albanians and Matais settled here. This is evidenced by many stone balbals and tombs. But the most important proof is the presence of the castle itself.
Оған дәлел толып атқан қойтастар бар. Құлыптастар бар. Ал ең ірі дәлел болатын болса, ол бұл мынау тұрған қамал.
The Yıldız dynasty, descendants of the Kipchak tribe, was one of those who influenced the formation of the Azerbaijani people. In 1136, Shamsuddin Yıldız, at that time the Sultan of the Seljuks, was the tutor of Turgul's son Arslan Shah. That is, he was considered an Atabeg. After the death of the Sultan, he married the widow Momine Khatun and began to rule the cities of Iran and Bard. Later, he created a separate family and own dynasty. Thanks to a reliable army, he managed to resist external enemies and strengthen unity within the country. When the state was ruled by representatives of the Yildiz dynasty, the level of well-being of the people increased significantly. But the Alinja castle was a kind of treasury where all the most valuable things of the Yildiz created in the 12th, 13th centuries were kept.
Осы қамалда олардың қазынасы болған, алтын қазынасы. Жақан Пехлаванның уақытында
This fortress kept their treasures, golden treasures. During Jahan Pahlavan's reign, these treasures were uncovered. They lived here, the army too. But in 1225, Jalal ad-Din, son of Khwarezm Shah, came with his army and the Yildiz were defeated.
мынау Жалладин, Хорезм Шахтың баласы Жалладин осы арада әскермен келіп, Елдениздер соларда жеңіліс табады.
Thanks to high-quality construction and durable materials, the fortress has survived to this day, although over the centuries it has witnessed many wars and natural disasters. The castle, located 60 kilometers from Nakhichevan, is the pride of the locals. Built in the 6th century, the facility had strong walls and watchtowers. It could freely accommodate a garrison of 600 soldiers, along with horses and ammunition for a long time. There were all conditions for this. In the fortification, it was even possible to breed livestock. Once on the road leading to the fortress, there were watchtowers and other structures. More than once, this place became a shelter for khans and sultans. There is a version that here is the grave of Muzaffar Uzbek, the last sultan from the Yildiz dynasty, who are the successors of the Kipchak tribe.
Елденіздердің ақырғы сұлтаны Muzaffar Uzbek.
The last sultan of the Yildiz, Sultan Muzaffar Uzbek Yildiz, died in these places. According to historians, he's buried here on the western side of the castle. But no one knows the exact place, as it was a troubled time. The graves were robbed. Looters could completely pull out the body and burn it. Therefore, they tried to hide the place of burial.
Оларны тонауы мүмкін, жақуы мүмкін. Сондықтан олар сондай жасыруға шейін барған, қай жерге жеткен.
In 1225, when the army of the son of Khwarezm Shah Jalal ad-Din attacked, the Yildiz dynasty was defeated and their state fell apart. But Jalal ad-Din did not remain in power for long. In the 13th century, the Hulagu army came here and won a crushing victory. All administrative power passed into his hands. The followers of Hulagu ruled here for about 1 century. After that, the army headed by one of the Zhalair batyrs returned and created a new Zhalair state here and ruled the country.
1357 жылдары Zhalaiрлар таққа келеді.
In 1357, the Zhalairs came to power. These are our ancestors. Zhalairs are considered one of the largest and most numerous Kazakh tribes. They came along with the Mongol army. They fought in many lands around the world. They took over a lot of territory. They fought with the Arabs, the Egyptian Mamluks. As a result, the Zhalair state was formed. However, it did not last long, approximately 80 years.
Енді оларда көп тұралған жоқ. 70-80 жыл болды.
For many years, there was a war for this fortress. The fortification consists of 3 main parts: eastern, southwestern, and northwestern. There are special stone steps to climb higher from the eastern part to the northwestern and southwestern parts. The upper part looked like a small town. There were many residential and public buildings made of raw bricks.
Осы араға Темірлан келді. Үлкен әскермен.
Later, Tamerlane came to this place with a large army. He stood here for a long time trying to capture the fortress. As some scientists say, he was here for 2-3 years. Others say he was there for 15 years. But these, of course, are just words, and this is unlikely to be. Later, as they say, the ruler died. At that time, Tamerlane fought with the Ottoman Empire. In the Alinja castle in Azerbaijan, he received the ambassadors of King George VII, as he wanted a temporary truce with Georgia. The king allocated an army and agreed to certain privileges for Muslims. There were other agreements aimed at strengthening the friendly relations of the Central Asian states and their further development and prosperity.
жылы осы арада Тимурдың әскерімен қарсы соғысып қамалды қорғаған Zhalair'ların ақырғы
In 1401, the last sultan of Zhalairs, Ahmet Zhalair, fought against Timur's troops and defended the fortress. Ruler Ahmet Zhalair was a talented person. He is put on a par with another very famous Azerbaijani Akin Nizami. He was a gifted man. At that time, he was in charge of the government. He was the last Zhalair Sultan who defended this fortress.
Үкіметтің басында тұрған сұлтан Zhalair'lardan шыққан. Осы қамалды қорғаған ақырғы Zhalair'lardan сұлтаны.
The ruler Ahmet Zhalair was a real batyr. In addition, he was known as a poet. He wrote poetry in Azerbaijani, Arabic, and Persian. Literary critics compared his works with the poems of the famous poet Nizami Ganjawi. Nizami is a classic of Azerbaijani literature, a great thinker known throughout the Turkic world. He was a real role model for many Turkic poets. He was born and worked in the city of Ganja during the reign of the Yıldızı dynasty. Nizami had 3 wives. One of them was a representative of the Kipchak tribe named Afak, that is, the Kazakh name Apak. Evidence of this is the data provided by the staff of the local museum.
Nizami Ganjavi, наш великий поэт, ганджинский поэт.
Nizami Ganjawi was born in the city of Ganja. Until the end of his life, he was engaged in creative work here. His famous works are Leyli o Majnun, Khosrov o Shirin, Eskandar Nameh, Haft Peykar, and Magzan ol Asrar. According to some sources, the composition Khosrov o Shirin is dedicated to Kizil Arslan, a native of the Yıldızı dynasty, and one of the heroes of the poem Haft Peykar is called Apak. His wife's name was also Apak. She was from a Kipchak family. As a sign of his love for the wife, he used the name of his wife in the work. The fact that the city of Ganja under the rule of the Yıldızı dynasty was very highly developed is evidenced by the exhibits of the local museum. Along with the historical museum, there is the mausoleum of Nizami Ganjawi. In Baku, a monument was erected to this great poet. Over the years, a significant part of the city was destroyed as a result of devastating earthquakes. However, one of the important historical monuments has been preserved and has come down to our days. It proves that the history of the city begins from ancient times. These are the famous city gates. This is the place where 2 cities exist. The local museum has a lot of ancient artifacts that tell about the developed civilization in the region. Sewer pipes and water pipes are laid here, through which water flows. What does all this say? In the 11th, 12th centuries, it was a very developed economically region. That is, water was brought to every house. The very existence of the sewer network testifies to the high economic development. The participants of the Trails of Nomads scientific expedition, having completed the study of the ancient history of the Nakhichevan region, continued their work in other regions of Azerbaijan. In the next program, we will talk about the journey of scientists to the Kazakh villages, which were also founded by outstanding ancestors.